From a black background, two teal canes crossing behind a pink atom flicker on in neon light. To the right, white words stack vertically, blind over matter. The words and logo fade to black. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about starting a business and all the things I don't know, because I think there are times for me personally, and I would say for maybe other disabled people as well, where there's two prongs of problem that arise when we try to do something new. And the first one is naivete, right? I've never started a business before, and I don't know that I will again. Not because it's bad, but just this is what I want to do, and so I can't think of a reason to do anything, to start a new one, at least at this point. However, I don't know a lot of things. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what the optimal way to do things is, and I don't have all the answers to, how to solve problems, how to create things that work for me, because I've never done it. And so there's hurdle number one. And hurdle number two is accessibility itself. For example, for a business, one of the things that you need in this day and age, of course, is a website. And I have blind friends who have gotten into web development and really enjoy that. I'm not one of those people. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I want to write the copy, the text that I want on the website, but I don't understand and don't really have the patience right now to understand how to do it all. I tried, I went on and I, created the hosting account, paid for web hosting and all that stuff. And through my graphic design person that I've been working with, she's helped me tremendously in terms of like the back end stuff, and basically said, write the copy and we'll make it, look good per her expertise. And that's about the level that I want to engage with the process of making a website right now. Is I want it to look good, I want it to be professional, but beyond doing the writing, I don't have any skill set there. And as far as web accessibility, that's another thing. I know about some things that are helpful, but I don't have all the answers, and part of that is because I've never done this before. But also part of it is me not really being a, technologically inclined person about that specific thing. And I think that's an important thing to acknowledge. When to tap out, when is it best for me to bring in someone who knows what they're doing? Because I'm not that person in this instance. And even in accessibility for websites and web design, I can tell you maybe what doesn't work very well, and I can tell you places where I can't get around effectively. I can give you a few tips on how to make your photos or your tables or things more accessible using something called alt text. But beyond that, I am not the best person to talk web accessibility with, and my hope is that as I start my business and I start doing consulting, that I can find places to network with where I can pass a business off and say, hey, I don't know these things, but here's 4 places that I know of that do. And you can get quotes from them, that kind of thing. And for me, what I'm realizing as I'm starting the business is at some point you just have to do the thing, right? I had an aunt who, when I was moving into my first studio apartment, I had called her, and we don't talk extraordinarily often. And one of the things that because I kind of was hemming and hawing about should I do it, and I don't know, all the details of everything. And she kind of said, at some point you have to take the jump. You have to decide that you're going to do it, and you have to learn with what comes with that. And I think that really applies here. And another piece of advice that I got in my life that was really impactful for me is when I was skydiving. And I jumped with this guy, shout out to Bo. I don't know if he's still over at the Wisconsin Skydiving Center. No sponsorship, just shouting them out. But I don't know why I say no sponsorship. I've skydived once, so I wouldn't even be eligible for one. But we're walking to the airplane, and this guy's, of course, jumped out of a plane thousands of times in his life. And I said, do you have any advice for me, as we go through this? And he said, whatever that you're feeling as you do this, feel that thing. So if you're excited, be excited. If you're nervous, be nervous. If you're you don't know how to feel, live in that experience of not knowing how to feel. Because if you spend time fighting, so if you are fearful, if you're scared, and you spend time fighting that fear, now you're not enjoying the experience of skydiving because you're fighting your fear. And I did that. I had never been in a plane that small before. And so the propeller starts up, and I was sitting literally with my back to the controls, so I could feel the vibration, and I ended up going backwards for takeoff, which was kind of fun. And we take off, and we're flying, and I feel a little fear, I'm a little anxious, I'm excited, and I for the first time, and I've never been someone who meditates or is able to get a hold of my own mind, but I just felt those things. And as part of the skydiving, obviously you have to open the egress point, right? So they open the door of the airplane, and all of a sudden I'm the most calm that I've ever been in my life. And I think it was just this calm acceptance of understanding that anything that happened after we leaned out the door was so far out of my control that it wasn't even worth fearing, because it wasn't something, whether or not I lived in the next minute and a half was not in my hands. And at some point you have to choose. And I remember we counted down, and you just lean, and I didn't push, I didn't jump out of the plane, I just went. And I think that experience and that specific piece of advice is something that I have talked about with my buddy who I jumped with. We come back and talk about it from time to time, and that's what stuck with me. And as I think about starting a business, which is new for me, and I want to do the business, I want to be consulting with people, I want to make spaces, experiences, ideas, I want to make people's experience in the world a better thing through the lens of accessibility. And I don't know how to do taxes for a business. I don't know how to do a website and make sure I can accept online payments in a way that's accessible for me with a screen reader. I don't know what the appropriate thing is to charge people for the things that I'm going to offer. But you know what? I'm going to start. And once I get a website up and ready, I will post updates here as well. I don't want this channel to be inundated with business content. However, I want what I'm doing, because it's woven in with the accessibility content of this channel and with me as a person, I want this to be something I'm transparent about and I share as an experience with you, because there are only 3 of you away. So we are only 3 of you away from 400 subscribers, and to me that speaks to the amount of people that have seen something in what I do that means something to them, even though there's been no schedule at any point in this channel. I do whatever I want. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's plants, sometimes it's nothing for like 6 weeks. So I'm trying. And what I want to say with this video, and just as a point to document right now, is I'm working on things, and it's not quick, it's not pretty. It hasn't been fun because of some other things I'm dealing with, personally, kind of behind the scenes of all of this, that dude, someday I'm gonna write a book, okay? But I'm doing the thing. And I think because I've hit that point where you need to do the first thing, I have done that. I registered my business in, I think, late January of this year. I went and signed up all the paperwork about a week and a half ago now to get bank accounts up and rolling. The website is in the works. And there are things that are going to come with that are going to change, hopefully, how I conduct myself, maybe what I do for a living. And if that starts here and I don't know what I'm doing, it's better to, send out the first draft. Here's another fun little nugget. And I'm thinking of all these things and reflecting, because they've been meaningful things for meaningful people. I went to the, what was it called? Minnesota Con. It was like a convention here in the state of Minnesota, I guess almost 2 years ago now. And while there, I saw a talk with, and then subsequently briefly met, Troy Baker, the voice of Joel in The Last of Us, among many, many other things. And in his talk, he talked about, if you're a creative person, that one of the things that you should do as much as you can is send the first draft of whatever you make out into the world, because you're doing it, right? You get the courage up and you make something, and you could spend forever perfecting that one thing, forever and ever, over and over, and make it perfect or as close to as you're going to get, and you're still going to find mistakes in that because you're the one creating it. And so you might as well get the gist of what you want to put out there and send that. And that wasn't the full talk or anything like that. I apologize if you hear my dog in the background, but it's a big takeaway for me. And when I do these videos, especially the unscripted ones, I try to do them in one take, and it's not to be arrogant or full of myself, but it's to say, hey, this is really me. This is where I'm at. Typically, all I will do is sometimes cut out some fillers, but I try, and I've made, I think, a more concerted effort over the last, I don't know, year or so of the channel to do this more, to put out the draft that I'm on, and I want you guys to be along for whatever that is for me and whatever that needs to be for you. There are people who have watched this channel who are also blind. There are people that I've worked with that have watched these videos and gained, hopefully, something insightful from them. Once I get more straightened out in here, I want to get back to doing some gaming. So there's a lot on the forefront, on the horizon, coming to the forefront, on the forefront, coming to the horizon, whatever you want to say. And so for those of you who have stuck around this entire time, I really appreciate you. Because it's not, subscribing to a channel when you could subscribe to any is, I don't take that lightly. And so when I gain, subscribers, I see that there are people who are at least somewhat interested in what I'm doing. So thank you. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll see you soon. Peace.